Hi everyone, this is Ashley. I just wanted to give you a quick update before we listen to this week's podcast. We conducted these interviews in June and July as part of the promo for Needed Killin. It is now late August and the show has closed. It went wonderfully well, a better reception than we could have possibly imagined, and we're so thankful that the community was so receptive to our message and to the humor, and it just was a dream come true. But we kind of got a little bit behind, and we weren't able to share all the interviews before the show actually ran. However, we really love the interviews that we did, and we wanted to share them with all of you all. So we will be sharing them over the next few weeks, the last 6 or so interviews that we did with the main cast from Needed Killin. So there you have it. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Ashley.
And I'm Bree.
We're the PR team
behind the Theatre Downstream.
For our 6th season, we wanted to get to know the people behind the characters. We wanted to get real. Today, I got to sit down with Ashleigh McCandless, the actress who plays Amelia in Needed Killin.
Ashley talks about what it's like to have an understudy, moving across the country and then back home again.
For a boy.
And her thoughts about Area 51.
There's this thing that's going on now where these people say, they made a whole Facebook group and everything. It says, let's storm Area 51. They can't stop all of us. And there are 3 different groups. There are the pebble throwers, which are going to throw rocks at the guards. There are the runners, and they just run. And then there are the Kyles, and they're just the biggest of them all. And they're going to
Kyle does not sound like a name of someone who's the biggest and baddest.
No.
Kyle.
So?
Yeah. Hey, my name's Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a cousin named Kyle. He had a bowl haircut when he was younger. He's very handsome.
Shout out cousin Kyle.
Hey, cousin Kyle.
He was very handsome.
He is now.
Yeah.
Well, he was then too. He was a cutie, but.
Did you drive through Area 51?
I did.
Or have you ever driven through Area 51?
Yes.
Have you ever been to Area 51?
Yes.
Well, first of all, before you go into that, let's discuss what a bad plan that is by these people.
I think it's amazing.
No, it's a terrible
my
idea.
generation is going to end quickly.
Right? Like, the
You're not gonna make it
apocalypse
to
is
30.
happening at Area 51, and it's not aliens.
It's Kyle.
Idiots. It's Kyle.
There's a reason the generation directly after me is Gen Z, because it's going to be the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
The end.
Yeah.
Are we going to start over with Generation AA?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Generation
A1.
Yeah.
Or like what I do on my passwords, I'm like, !1.
Right.
Two.
I like it.
So you have driven through Area 51. Tell me about that.
Yes. So if you drive from Vegas to Reno, technically, like, Highway 95 cuts through Area 51 if you look at the map. So it's not like the actual Area 51 that everybody wants to go to and questions. But it really does cut through just the little, like, whoop, blip of it. Yeah. Yeah. But I've also driven the extraterrestrial highway.
And what is that?
It's the loop around Area 51. So you take, like, the interstate, like you're leaving, coming back towards, the Midwest. And then you get off on some random exit, and you go all the way around, and it's just, like, in the middle of the desert. But there's this really cool sign that says, like, extraterrestrial highway. Like, it's legitimately called that. And there's all these really pretty stickers all over it. So it's really colorful. I was really excited, and then I got really bored because there were no aliens. So I think I took a nap.
But the reason I tagged Ashley in this Area 51 meme is because she showed me one the other day.
So it's this meme of this kid, and he's looking down at his paper. It says, time traveler arrives back in 1917 and says something to the kid says something about the Great War, and he says, "Oh, you mean World War One?" And the kid looks up like, "World War what now?"
But the one that I saw said like a time traveler shows up and this guy asks him, "Did they actually storm Area 51?" And he goes, "Oh, you mean the Great Massacre at Area 51?"
Exactly right.
And the guy goes,
Those zombies are gonna come and shoot you.
Yeah, because tell them what you said earlier, that if you even get close.
Oh yeah, if you even get close, like, and you think nobody's there, and like, oh, no one can see me. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, like, these Hummers show up and they, like, at gunpoint tell you to go away.
Has that ever happened to you?
Oh no, I'm not stupid.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no.
You're not a Kyle.
Yeah, no, I'm not a Kyle.
Or a pebble thrower. Pebbles. What are pebbles gonna do?
Nothing.
They don't want to hurt the guards. They just want to annoy them enough. That
Oh
they
yeah,
won't shoot.
so that they will shoot.
Listen, I didn't come up with the plan. I just read it.
I feel like, that's not smart. No.
Okay, let's officially start.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
Can you introduce yourself? And
Sure. I almost said Kazaza in my head.
oh yeah.
So my name is Ashleigh, formerly Kazaza, currently McCandless.
Yay!
And what else am I supposed to tell you?
What character you play?
Oh, I play Amelia.
I didn't ask you that. That was just an add-on
Oh,
just
okay.
now.
I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't remember.
Yeah. What is your day job?
I am a teacher. So I currently teach at Eminence Independent School District. I get to teach kindergarten through 12th grade, and I teach dance and drama in high school and elementary school. And then my middle school is like a jumble of things. So I teach dance and drama for sure. And then like last year I had a quarter of electronic music and a quarter of middle school choir.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
Okay. We have a whole passel of teachers. We love teachers here.
Yay!
How long have you been a teacher? Because I know you recently moved here.
I just finished my 12th year.
12th year. Okay. And how long have you been here in town?
2 years. I had to think.
You came here right during Annie, is that right?
Yes.
You moved in?
Yes.
You're the Carol.
She's
I
the,
am a Carol.
she's the Carol of the group.
That's cute.
What do you think is the best part about your job? Or the most interesting part?
That's really difficult because it kind of depends on the day. The best part of my job is getting to see changes in kids. So I love when they come in, and I've always taught arts classes. I'm a music teacher at heart. And so I taught 10 years of elementary music in Las Vegas, and there were and I taught in like high population of gang areas. I taught inner cities, so that I had a lot of rough kids, and I loved them. So I love it when the kids come in like, I'm too good for this, and then they're like, oh, you're my favorite teacher.
Yeah. So you're kind of like, have you seen that movie Major Payne? Are you the Major Payne?
Yes. Yeah. So I just love it. I just love to see the change, and I love it when they get to be creative and figure out that it's okay to be completely weird. And this is a safe place to do it.
Yeah.
And learn, especially in high school, learn how to use imagination again. And
Yeah.
that's a real thing, and it's an important part of life.
I feel like kids when they're younger, they love doing that and then they lose that.
They do. We kind of force them to grow up really fast, especially with the changes that have happened in education. We do force kids to grow up really fast and put a lot on their plate. And unfortunately, we have lost the creative, imaginative side of education because there's not a lot of time left for it anymore in the day. So I love what I do because they get, even if it's just a little glimpse, they get a little glimpse into, my everyday life.
Right. You said you taught a lot of inner city kids. Do you have any particular stories that you want to share?
Oh, there's so many stories. I broke up a lot of fights, like over the years.
So how old were you when you started teaching?
25.
Okay.
So I transferred twice in college. I do have a funny story about a child, though.
Yes, please.
It didn't actually happen in my classroom. It happened in a kindergarten classroom.
Oh.
This little child was a child of a teacher that worked at the school, thankfully. Now, I will say this little child had, he was on medication for his tummy. He was having tummy issues. And this was, towards the beginning of the school year. And he came out of the bathroom and was like, I'm not going to use teacher name. I'm just going to say teacher. Teacher, there was an explosion.
Aww.
And teacher was like, what do you mean there was an explosion? He's like, there was a poop explosion. And teacher went into the bathroom, and there was, in fact, a poop explosion. It was he tried to clean it up, but it was, everywhere, apparently. Walls, toilet.
Goodness.
On him.
Oh.
But Mom was there, so we were able to, get new clothes,
hose him
clean
down.
off, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah. There was a poop explosion. Those are not words you expect to hear.
No.
Ever.
No. And for it to be accurate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You think, oh, well, just confined explosion.
Yeah, no. It was an explosion. Yeah.
Is teaching your dream job?
Teaching is my dream job. I had a 4th grade teacher, Miss Hadaway. Shout out. Was an amazing teacher. And before that, I was like, every little child. Oh, I don't really know what I want to be. I want to be a singer. Then when I grow up, I want to be like Reba McEntire. Like,
oh, nice.
And then I had her in class, and she made learning so much fun. Like, I still have stuff that I made in her classroom, like this book that we made, and she made sure, like, everyone won awards. They were different awards. We all won different awards for our book, but we got, like, legit, like, seals to put on our books, and, like, we tie-dyed stuff, and we did composting, we did all kinds of things that tied into, like, real life, but she just made learning so much fun, and ever since then, I just wanted to be a teacher. Now, mind you, I did not like school. And I always tell, when the kids ask why I went into music, my first period class was music. And I always say in high school, like, I hated school. And I would have skipped school every day
if it wasn't that first period.
My first period class. So that's why I chose to go into music education, because it did so much for me. And music means a lot to me. And it's just a universal language.
It is.
So that's why I went into music, and so I get to tell that to kids when they ask, and they're like, oh.
And music is healing.
Yes.
All the way back into biblical times.
Yes. So that's why I decided to. So it is my dream job.
Nice.
I do miss teaching music. I love Eminence School District. I love the people I work with. I love the people I work for. I love the kids. But when I got middle school music classes last year, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So I do miss teaching music because that's my passion.
So basically, you wanted to be a teacher when you grew up. There is no difference.
Yeah.
Other than Reba McEntire.
I mean, yeah.
Who would?
Right? Who doesn't want to be? I mean, she's amazing.
What is your family situation, if you want to talk about it? You have some happy news.
Yes. I just got married.
Yeah.
So I now have 2 stepdaughters who are fabulous. Lily is 16. Eva is 12. And we are closing on a house on Monday, so that's exciting. Yay.
And tell me your origin story with as much as you want to tell me about you and how you met your husband.
So Levi and I met in 2000 when I got a job at Arnie's.
What is that?
It's a pizza place, like pizza, salad, sandwiches.
Is this in
Indiana?
Indiana, okay.
And it's a franchise in Indiana that is amazing, and it should come to Kentucky because it's the
Sounds
best
good.
pizza ever.
Is it sort of like a hometown? Like we have no?
No. No. It's like Pizza King, if you've ever had Pizza King. Yeah, that's also an Indiana thing.
Oh.
So
I wonder if Pizza King is like a Gaddy's.
It's thin crust.
Oh.
Like super thin, crunchy deliciousness.
Okay.
Yeah. We met then. We opened the restaurant together, and
Meaning you worked, not that you opened a restaurant together, like you.
we worked together
Yeah,
as
there
the
you go.
restaurant opened.
Okay, gotcha.
We were on the opening team.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we did not open a restaurant together. No, that'd be
Hi.
right.
Hi, Levi. I just met you. Let's open a restaurant together.
Right? I'm 18. Let's do it. So he's a year older than me. He graduated the year before. And so we dated a little bit in my senior year, freshman year of college. And then we stopped dating. We were talking about it when we started dating again. Like, we didn't really have a reason why. We just kind of stopped dating. And then, life took him one way and me all the way across the country. And then he found me again on Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah, right. We both were divorced, and we kind of started long distance dating, and then I quit my job, got a job here, and moved across the country. So, yeah.
Moved across the country for a man.
I know.
Or you
it's so
I guess
cliche.
you moved back home for a man.
I did. I'm from Indiana. My family's all in Indiana. So I love you, family. I wanted to be close to home, but not so close that people would show up for dinner unexpected. I feel really bad when I say that, but most people are like, oh no, I understand
Yeah.
that. I'd been gone for 10 years. So I was like,
So what took you to Vegas then?
my dad's side of the family is from Reno. My mom is from Indiana. So when we moved to Indiana, I always said, oh, I want to go back to Nevada. That was always my thing since the time I was a kid. I love the mountains. the beach is great, but give me the mountains. And so when I graduated, I kind of jokingly say I ran away from home, but I did run away from home. My parents were going through a divorce, and not that that's why I left, but there was just a whole bunch of different things that I was like, you know what, I'm out of here. So I ran away from home. I wanted to get kind of as far away as I could, but again, I always said I was going to go back to Nevada. I was actually offered a job in Crawfordsville, Indiana, which is like basically where I was from, and I turned it down because I was waiting on the job from Vegas, and I knew I would get a job there because they are desperate for teachers. So
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Because the school district sucks.
You could say that. Nobody listens to us from Vegas.
Well, every teacher would be like, yeah, they don't respect their teachers. So it's pretty much a place where you put in your 2 years and leave.
Oh, is that what you did?
No, I put in 10 years.
10 years.
And if it weren't for having been divorced and meeting somebody that I would have stayed there.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you see yourself...
After I got divorced, I was like, okay, well, I need to go closer to home for, emotional support.
Do you see yourself going back there? Do you think you guys will move back in retirement age or something?
Oh, I would in a heartbeat. And Levi knows that. Like, I love the city. I love Las Vegas. My first year there was so hard, and I questioned. I was like, you ran away from home, and why, like, you're here and you know no one. I packed up what fit in my Impala, and my friend Christy and I drove across the country.
Wow.
And that was it, and I didn't know anybody, and so it was a rough first year.
Did Christy stay or did she come back home?
She came back home. She was just
Okay.
my driving partner.
Okay.
And I didn't know anybody, and thankfully I found a church that became my church family, and that's when, I just felt like, okay, this isn't that bad, and I loved my job. And there was, even though the school district is a very broken school district as far as like the politics of schools, and it's the 5th largest school district, so you're dealing with a lot of financial issues. The structure of professional development and the support from colleagues, not just within your own building, but especially as a music teacher where you're the only elementary music teacher in the building. Like, we had so many things where I knew so many elementary music teachers, and we would get together and share ideas, and like, it was just a really good environment for elementary music. They really respected the arts, and so I just fell in love with my job. I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the city, and yeah, I would move back there in a heartbeat. But right now that's just not possible. And retirement age, well, I mean, I'd be okay, like, packing up an RV and living wherever we land.
That would be kind of fun.
Right?
Yeah. It'd be warm there.
Yes. It is very warm in the summer, but the winters are my jam.
Oh, I would love that. My dream would be to be a snowbird. To be here. Because I like, my family and everything.
Yes,
so I'd
yeah.
be here in the summer time. And then when these winters hit.
Yeah. Leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean,
I think the snow should be on the top of a mountain. Beautiful
looked at.
snow-crested mountain. And I can drive to it if I want to, and then drive away.
And drive away to the warm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my idea of winter.
I thought about you, Bree, when I was seeing all the flooding that they're talking about now in Louisiana and all that.
oh yeah.
Because she's like, I'd move down to Alabama. And I said, you should wait till hurricane season. Then see
Yeah.
if you still want to move to
Yeah.
Alabama. In the play, the character of Ruth says, kind of jokingly, that boundaries are the secret to a successful marriage. What do you think the secret to a successful marriage is?
It's kind of cliche, but communication, I think, is really important. Just being able to listen to each other, not always say something back, but I hear how you feel. I'm sorry, especially as a woman who has a ridiculous amount of feelings. Like, hear how I feel. It doesn't mean it's going to go away. But before that, I think the Lord is what makes it, like, because I'm a Christian, and there are times when it's like, if I didn't have Jesus, I wouldn't be where I am today anyway. And I truly believe that he has to come first, and there's going to be problems, and you're going to fight, and it's going to be hard. But if you have if you both can just stop and go to the Lord and separately pray, together pray, come back later and deal with it after you've not, like when you're not losing your mind.
Yeah, when your feelings have cooled down.
Yes. Yeah. After you've had time to, because usually I come back later and I'm like, okay, so I was a little crazy. I'm really sorry. And this is how I really feel.
Yes.
But definitely the Lord and communication.
I think that's really valuable. I agree. Well, let's move on to acting a little bit. What brought you to acting in the world of community theater? So if you had an origin story, if you were an X-Men origin
I
story.
love the X-Men, by the way.
Yeah.
They're my favorite. So my origin story is kind of weird. Like, I was never in musicals in high school. Our high school did it every year, but I played sports. So it ran along beside each other because I played tennis, and it just wasn't possible. I played sports. I worked. I loved it. I always wished that I had time for it, but I didn't. And then going in as a music major in college, of course, that's kind of part of your life. It's part of what you do. And when I was at Manchester, I guess I've always played really weird roles, because the one that stands out is, I couldn't even tell you what the play was, I'm not gonna lie, but my name was Polly, and polyester. My name was Polyester.
No, I love it.
And I was like a fashion designer, but I was like a terrible fashion designer.
Yeah.
Like my outfit was insane and terrible makeup and crazy hair. And it was like a dinner theater. And like that role, I just loved. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And then I was the mom for Hansel and Gretel opera. We didn't perform the whole opera, but that was my role. So I did little roles in college. When I went to Anderson, I didn't do anything. I loved that school, but as a music major.
Is this in Las Vegas?
No.
Oh, okay.
Anderson University.
Oh, okay.
So as a music major, if you're a music ed major, you're like on the lower end of the totem pole, because music performance majors, that's what they're doing.
That's
They're going into performing. And then I've never really had a lot of self-confidence with it. So
With singing?
yeah.
Okay.
And just performing, and like I always have sung in church, and I've been told, and I used to compete in church with the teen talent show basically for church, and I would always make it to nationals, and
nice.
they would always I would never make it to the next round because I didn't perform, but I was anointed in my singing. That's what they told me, that, oh, you really blessed me, but my performance scores were always really low, and I always found that really frustrating because
Are they saying your body language basically?
Yeah, I didn't put on a show.
Oh.
And so I always
But then you did exactly what you were.
Yeah. So I was always really confused because I was like, I'm here singing for Jesus. I'm not singing for you. And my mom and my youth pastor always, encouraged me that, which is more important.
Yeah.
And so I just never had a whole lot of confidence to go out for a role because that was never really my personality. I don't like a lot of attention. I get really awkward when people are like, oh, that was so good. I'm like, oh, that's nice.
You start twittering.
Right? Yeah. And so when I moved here, I didn't have any friends. And I was like, well, I'd kind of like to do something just for me. Rebecca Murphy actually is the one that was like, oh, you should go out to Theatre Downstream.
Yeah, because she was in Annie at the time.
She was in Annie, and I came and saw her, and I was like, oh, this could be kind of fun. And so when I tried out for Something's Afoot, I was like looking and reading the roles, and I was like, oh, this one gets to use an accent?
Yeah.
I was like,
sign me up.
Wait, because then I wasn't really myself.
Right.
And so that's kind of what got me into, well, that is what got me into Theatre Downstream, but kind of like let me see that, oh, I can do this, and I am good enough to do this.
Yeah, yes,
So-
definitely. So Theatre Downstream shows were kind of your first community theater shows then?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like I did, plays at church.
Right.
But for community theater Downstream.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Do you have a dream role? Something you would love to play?
Yes, I would love to do My Fair Lady.
You'd be great in that.
So again, I like the whole concept of
Yeah.
like doing an accent and not being yourself.
Yeah.
Because then then I don't feel so like embarrassed and awkward.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I would love to do that show.
You should do it as Letty, though.
Right?
My Fair Lady, the Letty
version.
The Letty story. My Fair
Fair
Letty.
Letty.
Ah, I love it. So what makes acting so appealing to you?
Making people smile.
Yeah.
Like, and with it being an art, a performing art, even though I get really awkward, like that's what I love about performing arts. That is why I believe in music. It's, it touches people. People can connect to it. They can connect to the story. They see parts of themselves in it, and it can change them. Mm-hmm. And I think theater is it's just a different way of doing it than music, but I think it's just as important. And especially for people who, like in your show, it talks about, sometimes people need to hear it through a story to learn a lesson.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to do it with theater.
Or in our generation, sometimes people need to read a meme.
Yeah.
Like the memes that sometimes I share. Some people
They just need to hear it that way. Yeah.
Do you have any other hobbies or hidden talents or anything like that?
I play guitar.
Oh, that's nice.
And I'm the worship leader at church.
Oh, are you okay?
I collect rocks.
Do you?
Yeah. I have ever since I was a little kid.
Yeah. Do you paint them?
I don't. I just put them in boxes.
My mom told me I needed a hobby because I was getting too stressed out. What?
No.
And so we went to Michael's and she was trying to find a hobby for me. She said, you need something that's not acting because you are crazy.
Yeah.
So she wanted me to do crochet. And that was impossible.
Yeah, I can do a chain. That's it.
And we bought the simplest little kit for me. I can show you. But it was some kind of Mathian weirdness because Brian was there and he's like, what is wrong with you? Because I couldn't hook it around the things. And then my brain would go, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do this. And it took me about an hour to make this weak little chain. So knitting was not, or crocheting was not my thing. But then I kept telling her, I want to paint rocks.
Yeah.
I want to paint rocks. And she's like,
No,
you're going to crochet.
Great.
No. So I went back and I got little rocks.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like the day after Christmas or maybe even Christmas a couple of years ago. And I still have it in there. I painted my first little rock and I was like so overjoyed.
I love it.
It was very detail oriented because it was this little teeny tiny rock. Yeah. And you get in there with this little tiny thing. So it appeals to my manic detail oriented. Yeah. So I was like painting his little face and
I like it.
Yeah.
I just kind of set them out. Like when I was little, I just looked for any random rock that was pretty.
Yeah.
Now I try to get like when I go somewhere.
Oh, okay. So like I collect
them.
magnets.
Yeah.
You take pieces of nature.
Yes. Yeah, I steal nature.
Okay. I wasn't saying it that way.
I am. When I went to Death Valley, I took a salt rock, and now I don't even know if I moved it across the country when I moved back because moving rocks across the country kind of seems like heavy and, well, not smart. So, but the other day I was thinking like, oh man, I really wish I had that rock now that I'm going to have a house. I could put it outside.
How many do you think you have?
Anymore? Not that many. Oh. Yeah, I kind of need to start my rock collection back over. I have little ones from when I was a kid, literally in a box with all my other little kid stuff, right? But like in Las Vegas, when I had a house, they were like randomly around the house.
Pet rocks.
I had a pet rock.
Did you?
Oh yeah, we went camping one year, and my little sister was probably 4 or 5, and we tied a string to a rock, and we walked it around the lake as we went fishing.
What'd you name it?
I don't remember, but I can tell you we just went camping, like Levi and the girls and I, with my dad and my sisters, and Eva kept collecting rocks, and it was so cute. And I was like, I used to do that when I was a kid. And I told her that we had this pet rock, and so the next thing I know, she was swimming out to the like shore with my nephews and with Lily, and she comes back with this big rock and she's like, this is Frank, he's my pet. And I was like, I love it.
That's adorable. All right, let's move on to He Needed Killin now that we've talked for an hour about just
randomness.
If somebody said to you, how would you summarize this show? How would you summarize it?
It's very hard to summarize
I can't. That's why I ask you guys.
Yeah, I think it's very hard to summarize because it's about so many different things.
There's like an A plot, B plot, C plot
yeah.
kind of thing going on.
Yeah, I think it's about love in a variety of ways. I think it's about the strength of people and finding your strength and learning where to get your strength. I mean, it's easy to say, oh, it's about community, because it is about community. But I feel like it's so much deeper than community. It's family.
Yeah, because we talked about they've kind of surpassed being friends.
Yeah.
They're now family.
Yeah, they're now family.
Especially after the events of this show.
Yes, yes. And I guess I just kind of tell people, I'm like, it's about this woman who is, you know, oppressed, and she finds her strength in her friends and learns by the end of the show that I'm okay as myself.
Yeah.
And I think that as a woman who's kind of always struggled with being herself, is it okay to be myself? Is myself good enough? Like, when I read the script, I cried.
Did you?
Yes. Like, opening scene, crying.
Oh.
And like several times throughout the show, I was like, oh my gosh.
I love watching you watch the show.
Oh, it's so exciting.
Because you've got we can talk about it a little bit later, but you've got what the others don't. You have an understudy.
Yes.
So there'll be times where you are sitting out and you are getting to see the entire
Yes,
picture.
it's
so
amazing.
You are the first audience member for this
love
show.
it.
It's really neat.
One thing that I wish we had asked everybody is how would Amelia or how would this character summarize the show? Like, what's going on in their life?
I feel like Amelia would be like, well, there's some crazy people.
I'm the normal one.
Yeah, I'm totally normal. The rest of these people are crazy. And I think she would say, like, just really bluntly, like, some people are bad.
Yeah.
And bad people don't belong in my life.
That's right. We need to cut them out.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's great.
She's very to the point.
She is.
Do you have
Even
a...
though she doesn't say
Yeah.
in her head, that's what she's saying.
That is what she says. Do you have a favorite line or scene now that you've got to see the whole thing? You get to see the big picture?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. So many.
Or just a few of your favorites?
There's Ruth's monologue at the end of Act 1, like, gets me every time. Luetta, her monologue on the couch is just, like, Mandy made me cry this week. Watching it in the audience, I was just like, oh my gosh, so moved. But then, like, there's funny ones, like, so many funny ones. So many funny, cute little lines that just, you know, catch you. Yeah, I've been trying to think, because, you know, I've heard the other podcasts.
Oh, have you? Nice.
Yeah, I've listened to them all. I find them very fun. I like it.
We have two
I
fans.
love it.
Matt and Ashley listen to our podcast. Hi, Matt.
I listen to them all. And I've been trying to think, like, what is my favorite? And the last scene, the closing scene, is probably my favorite and the hardest to get through.
Oh, it's beautiful, though.
Because I'm acting it, so it's really hard to get through, but it's my favorite because it's not really acting. Like, I do cry. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but I do cry.
Yeah.
And it is very emotional. And in a positive way, not in a horrible, sad.
And a moving, touching.
Yes, yeah, and just a true friendship.
Yeah.
And how impactful
An earned
it is.
friendship.
Yes.
A friendship, an unlikely earned friendship.
Yes. So that's probably my favorite.
It gets me too.
Yeah.
Watching you guys. I feel the empathetic welling of the tears. Let's talk about Frank a little bit. Do you think that he is a believable villain?
Yes. And I say yes for many reasons.
Any that you want to talk about or none that you
I
want
can
to
talk about a little. I'm not
Okay.
going to go into great detail. I've had relationships where a lot of what Frank represents in a much smaller scale.
Okay.
As far as the whole, like, making me feel like I can't be on my own or I'm not enough. I've had relationships, I've kind of almost always picked guys like that in my life. My first boyfriend kind of instilled that in me, and so from then on out,
It was normal?
It was normal. And even my first marriage, there were elements of that. It was not a healthy marriage for either one of us. And I'm not going to go into great detail about that, but it wasn't a really healthy marriage for either one of us. It definitely did not edify the Lord and definitely was not great. But there were elements that, like, I can look back and see where, wow, that fed into my
Insecurity?
yes. And then another reason why is I have a family member who just got out of a relationship where he was beyond frank.
Really?
Yeah. And very controlling, definitely just not a nice person. The whole way that he would, like, Frank turns Luetta's head and forces her to look.
So that happened?
That happened. And beyond that. And so I think he's very believable. Very believable.
Unfortunately so.
Yeah. Yes.
And I guess it's important to have a character like Frank to see how women normalize this, because she's living with this and plans to continue to live with this.
Yeah. And, you know, in the show, they talk about reasons why women stay. And I think it's Ruth that says, sometimes you stay because you love them.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
You love them and you want them to love you the way that you love them. And, you know, whether it's that they don't know how or they just never will. Sometimes you just don't want to lose that romanticized hope.
Right. Yeah, I was listening to a video on the way here, and it talked about many reasons. Financial. Sometimes people stay for finances. Sometimes they stay for kids or shared dreams. They don't want to give that up.
Yeah.
Like you talked about, you would love to get an RV and drive across country.
Yeah.
Maybe the person you're with wants to do that too, and you don't want to give that up. Because if you leave them, that may not happen for you.
Right.
So it's security, and there's all kinds of reasons.
There are.
And the more I learn, the more I figure I just can't judge anybody for why they stay or go or whatever.
I think another thing, too, is that I don't think anybody has said this, but I think a lot of people, especially like me and you have talked about, we're like this, or not you, but me, are fixers.
Oh, I am. I was.
Yeah.
I very much was
early
on.
And
I am a major
me too.
fixer.
And that is one thing I have had to learn. You didn't cause it and you can't cure it. Something that being in the Theatre Downstream has taught me is how to handle confrontation and how to be okay with people not liking me, because that was a very big,
tough. Yes.
big issue for me. Is I still would love for everybody to like me, and the more years I'm involved, the less they do.
Yeah, and I think, you know, my family member who went through the divorce with a Frank character, she reminds me very much of Melissa, especially in the Christian aspect. Divorce is not what the Lord, that's not his first plan.
Right.
And so, therefore, die hard, I'm going to do my best to make this work. And I fully respect her for that. And I've told her that, you know, I respect that she is not a person that gives up easy and is willing to fight. But sometimes it's time to stop fighting. And it's hard.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
That's something
that's something that I feel like maybe one of the most controversial elements in our play in the area that we live in is the concept of divorce.
Yes.
Because one of our characters has divorced and they are kind of encouraging her to consider it. And what do you do in this kind of situation? How do you justify it? Can you justify it? Do you stay? What is your answer to the potential controversy of the divorce element?
Biblically, the Bible gives you specific reasons why you can get divorced.
And that's one thing.
And one of them is physical abuse.
That's one thing my mom talked about is technically he does do all of the things that the Bible says.
Yes. So I think if it were a Christian reason to stay married, I think that you have the biblical right to divorce. But the lines between Melissa and Carol in that scene where Melissa says, I still think divorce is wrong, and Carol says, well, we can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
I thought that, and I thought you did a great job of writing that respectfully. Like, it wasn't like, well, we can disagree.
Yeah.
Very respectful. Okay.
Then we're going to agree.
I just disagree with you.
And then it's just dropped.
And then they just
When
move
does that
on.
ever happen in real life?
Never.
That's how you know it's a play.
Yeah, like usually you fight to the death.
Yes.
And now we're no longer speaking.
Yeah. That was my best friend.
Right?
It's over.
You're dead to me.
My cousin and I were going to come up with a Hallmark cards series that was like the anti-Hallmark card. And our first series is going to be like a little coffin on the front. You are dead to me.
That's awesome. I'd buy it. I don't know for who, but I would.
Melissa would send it to Carol.
Right?
So, all right. Well, this is kind of, I guess, touching close to home. How would you react if your best friend was Louetta? So in your case, it was a family member. How did you react in this situation?
Well, I watched other people approach her and tell her their opinions, whether that is stay with him or don't stay with him. Mm-hmm. And I saw her reaction to that. And I knew I could go to her and say, hey, I really think that you should leave for you. But I never felt like the Lord was telling me to say that. Mm-hmm. I always just let her know, I'm here if you need me. If you want to talk about it, I will listen. And if you ever need a place to run, my door is open.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the way Our Ladies treat Louetta.
Yeah. And those are pretty much the words that I said to her at one time. I never expressed my dislike for her husband, and when I would see him, I tried my best to treat him with respect because she was making the choice to stay with him.
Right.
And because that was her choice, I wanted to respect her choice, even if I disagreed with it. We can agree to disagree.
Right. I think really the only time anybody says anything, actually, now they talk negatively about him when she's not in the room.
Right.
But the only time they talk negatively is when she says, everybody knows he's drunk on a hobo coming home on a train from Mardi Gras. And that's like the first time anyone's ever said anything out loud.
Yes. Yeah.
With her in the room.
Yeah.
This is Henry, if you hear this mad purring. All right, let's talk about Amelia.
Okay.
Can you describe your character?
She is this quirky, loving weirdo.
Yeah.
I mean, she's kind of weird and creepy and not intentionally creepy. Not the same kind of creepy as Frank. Creepy in the way of, like, I have no personal boundaries.
Yes.
There are no boundaries. Like, personal space just doesn't exist.
Right.
And she's never paying attention, but always paying attention.
Yes.
And she kind of reminds me of a lot of my students who, like, I swear you're not listening to me, but if I ask you something, you know exactly what to do. And I'm like, oh, what?
Or they know exactly what you said wrong.
Yes.
Well, you said this yesterday at 2:07.
Exactly. And so, yeah, she's kind of a weirdo, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. And she's not necessarily special needs because she's able to fully take care of herself.
Yes.
But she is how would you describe that part of her? Is she would you call her a disabled character, or what would you, mentally impaired, or
mildly mentally retarded would be like MMR would be if you were going to give her maybe a diagnosis in school in education. I would probably see MMR on paperwork. Still able to function, take care of yourself, still able to be in as a teacher, regular classes, but definitely not quite all there.
Yeah. And I think it's cool to have a character, and we've described her as creepy, offbeat, all these kind of what you would think would be negative, but they're all wonderful.
Yes.
And she is wonderful, and she's a lot of people's favorite character.
I love her.
And I think it's neat to have a disabled character who is a full character.
Yes.
She does funny things.
She does.
It's okay to not laugh at her, but laugh with her.
With her.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
What's been challenging about playing her? Because she is also nonverbal.
Well, that is extremely hard. A lot of times when you have a character, you can base their characterization off of the things they say. That helps you shape the character. And I say nothing. And so I'm like, oh, I walk in. Okay.
Yeah. She's all parenthetical.
Yeah. Like, it's been very, and at the beginning we didn't really know what Amelia was.
Right. She was a concept more than a character.
Yes. Yeah. And so she's kind of developed through interaction with the other characters. And as we watch and talk and discuss, like, oh, I think this needs to happen. So knowing who she is has been very challenging. And at the beginning, I was like, I would go home and be like, Levi, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And it wasn't anything that, like, it wasn't directing issue. It was just, I don't know who this character is.
Yeah.
And so, like, I could do all kinds of things and not really know if I felt like, personally, I was doing what Amelia was.
Yeah. And on my side of it, we knew. So let's say this in a couple different levels. We knew when we wrote it, we knew, again, the concept. We knew that we wanted this comic relief character, and we knew we wanted her to be in the background. And so when I took over as far as directing it, I knew that we would figure it out eventually.
Yes,
But
and
I
you
knew-
kept saying that.
I did.
And I trusted you.
I'm so glad you did, because I knew we couldn't figure it out until we had a set.
Yes.
And then once we had a physical set and we had...
It got so much easier.
It did. It's like, okay, there she is. It's done.
Yes.
You know, you could have come in to rehearsals probably after the set was built, other than bonding with the women
Right.
and being there and learning the show and everything.
Yes,
And it would have saved you a lot of frustration probably if I just said, you know what, just wait until about, July. And
I mean, it might have saved frustration, but at the same time, it would have taken the process out.
Yes.
And the process, I think, is important. And I think that's important as an actor or as an actress to embrace the process. And it's going to be frustrating because not every character, like, not every show, brand new show, has a movie that I can go watch,
Right.
has another performance that I can go study and learn about a character. So if it's a show that doesn't have that and I'm trying to figure out the character, well, sometimes it's just a process and you kind of have to embrace the struggle.
but what's going to be cool is that now people will have
Right?
a movie or at least a video
Yes.
of you, and they'll be like, oh, that's who Amelia is. That's going to be really cool. So now let's talk a little bit about the understudy.
Okay.
So when this show was written, she was intended to be in her 30s, which is your age. So when you auditioned, I was like, well, there it is. And then we had a younger woman come and audition. And I thought, I also like this.
Yeah.
So to me, it was not, on my end of it, it was not a disservice to you to have an understudy, but it was more of a, maybe I was wrong saying she has to be 30. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So I thought, I want to see both.
Yeah.
And I want to see, and I even told her, you know, if I like this, I will talk to Ashley and see if we can give you a performance.
Yeah.
In our creation, it was, she's been this way for a while.
Yes.
And this is her niece.
Yeah.
But, and I guess this is proof to other actors, always try for,
Right.
you never know.
Right.
You never know. And it wasn't a disservice to both of you. I liked both of you, but your interpretation was the written interpretation. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
And
yes.
how did you feel knowing that you would have an understudy? Did you feel insulted by it, or were you just like, oh, this is just a thing?
No. I was not insulted at all. I know in Nancy's podcast, she talked about how when she first started acting, it was all about her.
Yeah.
And I said earlier, like, I don't really like the spotlight. Like, it makes me uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, cool. That's kind of fun. Like, I'll have a partner. I'll have a partner in crime to figure out what the crap we're doing.
And what I like about it is there are some things that you guys do the same.
There's some, but we are so different.
But a lot of it is completely different, and that's what I liked about it. I liked, because if she had done it exactly the same way as you, why would I have an understudy?
Right.
I liked her interpretation of it. I was like, that's different, and I liked your interpretation of it.
Yeah, Mary and I were talking the other day, and we were talking about how very, very different our character Amelia. When we play them, that's just totally two different Amelias.
How would you describe them?
She described hers as more childlike. She said, I'm a child.
Yes, because she is a child.
Because she is a child.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great way to describe it. Mm-hmm. That even though the character itself is childlike and was written to be childlike, she truly plays it more of a child.
Yes.
And she does a great job. I love watching her, and I love watching, like, oh my gosh, that's so different than what I do.
Yeah.
And we both have gotten ideas from each other for what to do and what to do with all of the props and when do we come in and how does our face look? And I can't say how do we say things because, well, we don't. But what do we do with our bodies?
Yeah.
And so that's been a lot of fun because, like you said, it's not a carbon copy.
No, and I don't think I would want it to be.
No, because we're two different people, and it.
Now, there's some generic blocking stuff that obviously needs to be the same.
Right, but it would be. I think it would be very difficult if we were trying to copy each other because we are two completely different people in real life.
Right.
But it was a challenge. It was a challenge to like, we would go through, and I'm sure she would say the same thing. We would go through and we would get feedback, we'd get our notes, and then the other person runs it. So it's like, oh, I don't even get to like practice that.
Right.
And so that was a challenge. But again, embracing that process, it's not always easy. And I've really appreciated it. I think it's been great. And especially having a younger actress come up, I think it's great for her.
It gives her experience.
It gives her experience.
Right.
Experience in a safe way where she doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming.
Yes. Yes.
So I've really enjoyed it.
I also felt like when we wrote it, one of my hesitations with casting a younger actress just outright and saying Amelia could be any age is I was concerned that when Joan is so mean to her that it would look wrong if she was mean to a child.
Yeah, I can see that.
I thought if it was someone older, if she was saying all this kind of, it's not mean, but it's a little bit
sassy.
How would it be if it was actual child? So that in my thinking, but I mean, it's actually worked.
Yeah,
so
it has. And I think, shout out to Michelle, because we are so different. I don't know how she does it. And I've said that to her. Oh my gosh. Joan has to play two different Joans.
Yeah.
And she delivers lines, even though it's the same line. I feel like she delivers them different to the two of us because we are different.
And that's probably helped from you all being here from the beginning. So she's gotten used to your personalities too.
Yeah. And it's funny when the scene where we're at the snack table in the party.
Can I just say I love the way you were chewing yesterday? I noticed she was like,
yeah, I chew really weird on purpose because
Yeah.
I feel like Amelia would.
yeah.
Like,
It's sort of like she's tasting food for the first time.
yeah.
She does this. I'm telling you, Amelia, you were on point yesterday.
Well, Joan and I jokingly say that in that scene, she's teaching me how to Joan. And she's teaching me how to like eat food, and if it's gross, we spit it out. We don't keep eating it. We spit it out and put it back on the tray.
Oh,
and
nice.
make fun of the people in the room and like do all these things that Joan does.
Yeah.
That the character does. And so she's teaching me, this sweet little innocent person, how to be not
Hateful.
so sweet and little innocent. And so learning to Joan the way that I learned to Joan and the way that Mary learns to Joan, if you will, they're not at all the same. And so I love watching that scene.
Yeah.
As an audience member, just to see like,
What is she teaching her?
it's so different.
She's left her alone with her. What is she teaching
Right?
this child? Besides yourself, which actor do you think in this show is going to blow people away?
That is so. I honestly, I think anyone who's seen a TTD production, Brian, because like everything I've seen him in, and I've watched some of the DVDs of shows before I was here. It's just a role that is so not Brian, and he does a really good job, like, of scaring me, and that's just so not like.
That's
especially if you know him personally.
Yeah, that's what Candy, we just talked about with Candy, is that it's really tough to play someone that's not not someone you love to hate, but literally hate.
Yeah. And so I think him,
And to establish it within, 4 minutes?
Yeah.
Within the first 4 minutes of the show.
yeah, what a horrible person he is.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I think Mandy.
Yeah.
I do, Luetta, because, like she said in hers, this is her first speaking role, and like I said, she made me cry. Like she
made me cry at auditions.
She's doing such a good job that, like, and I wasn't there the day she auditioned. I was there the following day, but I just remember and she was there to read, and I was like, oh wow, she's got this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she came to the second day of auditions and had part of the monologue memorized.
Yeah.
She worked for that. She earned it. She really did. And hers has, of all the friends, she has the least amount of lines.
Yes.
So she has most of her lines happen, again, in that first scene.
Yeah.
We set her up, and then she doesn't say a lot
She doesn't
for the rest of the show.
And yet, like,
And-
she's
And especially in Act 2, she says hardly anything.
yeah, but her face tells it all.
Yes, it does. That's the mark of a very good actor.
Yes.
Actress. What is rewarding or positive, or what's your experience like working with an original script?
I think that it has been so rewarding to have you and Rebecca there to just ask questions. Well, and to hear the backstory of why was this play written, and oh, it's connected to real people, and like, oh, okay, that's been fantastic. And, you know, the same as what everybody else has said, like, it's nerve-wracking because you're there, but it's also been so helpful that you're there. So, yeah, it might be intimidating, and like, oh, I want to please them, and I want to capture what they want, but it's, I feel like, been easier to capture what you want because you're there.
Right, and we can kind of adjust it.
Yeah, yeah. And you guys make it such a safe space to try something, and you know what, that didn't work, let's try something new, and not feel like I'm a big failure. So that's been great.
A no-fail zone.
Right.
What do you think is challenging about working with the original script?
That there is no reference.
Yeah.
There's just no reference.
Yeah.
Especially in a character like we talked about earlier that's kind of undefined. There's no way for me to study either ahead of time or during.
It's like in the script I told you, I forgot she was on stage.
Yeah.
I noticed, okay, we have Amelia, when I was doing the blocking, Amelia enters and she never exits. And I just wrote at the top, do something with Amelia. It's in my script. Just send her somewhere. She's
We
here.
figured it out. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember that she exists.
Right.
If this were to be made into a movie, who would you cast?
Charlize Theron.
Would you really?
Oh my gosh.
What an interesting choice.
Okay, so I want you to think about her in Sweet November.
Yeah.
And if you've ever seen Arrested Development,
I have. Yes.
her character
She ate the plastic fruit.
is Amelia.
She is.
She wears her clothes inside out to show the tag because you're paying for the label. She, like, everything she does, like, her uncle locks her in the room with his invisible locks and she can't get out and she's yelling through the door. And then when Michael leaves to go up the fire escape to get her, she opens the door and says, be careful. Like, she's Amelia.
That's
so
true.
Those two roles, I just like, yeah, that's her. Yeah.
Oh, that's a
She's
great
weird.
choice.
Her clothes and yeah, just, yeah.
Do you have a favorite stage show?
It's really, West Side Story has always been my favorite musical. It was my mom's favorite. And so we watched the DVD all, like, growing up. It was probably VHS, I'm not gonna lie. And like, I own the DVD and I make my kids watch it at school.
That's cute.
When we read Romeo and Juliet. And so that's my favorite musical. I don't know. Other than that, like, when people ask what my favorite musical is, I say that one.
What do you consider to be your strengths and weaknesses when it comes to the stage?
Apparently I'm funny.
I think you are.
Like, I do weird things. And I think that that's great because I don't really try. So I guess I'm just naturally weird.
You just are.
Yeah, I just am weird. And that works for the characters that I've had to play. I think my weaknesses are I second guess myself a lot. And so it's my confidence. It all goes back to, confidence. Like, I don't necessarily have a whole lot of confidence. And I'm always like, well, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know if I'm good enough to try out for this particular role. Or
I always say, if you can't decide, go and let the director decide.
yeah. And I've gotten, I think, better at that, especially having come to community theater with TTD. Like, it's just been nice that it is a safe audition process, because some of the ones I've been in school and whatnot, it's like high intensity.
Yeah.
So
I tried to shape them from what I've been through to say, I don't want to make other people go through that.
yeah, and I think you do a great job with that.
Thanks. What's the last thing you do before you go on stage?
I go to the bathroom.
I feel that.
Yeah, like, I know once I'm on stage, like, it's a long time before I can go pee again. So I go to the bathroom and I say a little prayer.
Yeah.
Probably while I'm peeing, like,
Yeah.
Do you
Not gonna
like
let it win.
performance pee, or do you just like go pee because you know you're gonna have to?
I just go because I know I'm gonna have
Oh
to.
no, I get performance pee for sure.
Who do you look up to as an actor, director, writer, whatever you want to say?
Oh goodness, there's just so many people. In my experience of life, I look up to, my college professor directed the play when I was polyester. Deborah Lynn was amazing. She writes music.
Oh, nice.
And things like that. But as a director, like, she was so funny. And I loved working with her. She was our choir director as well. And I just loved her. So I looked up to her for the things that she went through and where she was. I love working with you.
Oh, thank you.
I do. I think that you're a great director.
See, I feel so insecure about it. Most of the time, I have such imposter syndrome.
Oh, no,
really
I think
do.
you do a great job.
Yeah.
I think that your ability to critique kindly is not easy. And your feedback never feels like I did something bad. Your feedback always feels like what I'm doing is good. Try this. And so I think you do a great job with that.
Thanks.
And then actor wise, oh, so many people. Nancy
Yeah.
and Cindy that was in Something's Afoot. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, like I just loved working with her because she was so funny and she was so good.
And she's kind.
Yes, yeah. And then Elizabeth, I mean everybody
Yeah, of course.
loves Elizabeth. Oh,
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
I think-
Elizabeth, I love you.
I think that is what makes good people to work for. They're talented and they're kind.
Yes.
That
Yes.
means a lot.
It does.
Brian and I have talked about that if you are a leader, if you are a lead in the show, then you need to be a leader.
Yeah.
And you kind of, whoever the leads are, they kind of set the tone for the rest of the cast because whatever mood that they are in, if they come to rehearsal and they're in a bad mood,
Yeah.
then the people that are with them that look up to them are they're going to kind of be in a bad mood too. So you have a responsibility
You
to
do.
come in and lead these people.
Yeah, I agree.
Are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
I am, even though it stresses me out.
Well, you've heard them if you've
I
listened to
know.
all the podcasts.
I've heard them and I've like thought about my answers and then I'm like, oh, what if that's not really my answer?
What am I going to do?
Right? Oh.
Here we go. What's your favorite meal?
I used to would say pizza. We're
She
gonna
is
keep
nervous.
it. I used to would say pizza. Now I would say like authentic street tacos after living in Las Vegas.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What's the most quotable movie?
Okay, so Princess Bride is obviously like
Obviously, the
yeah,
obvious.
but Emperor's New Groove. I like the movie. Ugly stinky llama face.
And it ties into the show because of the llama.
Right.
What is the best book you've read lately?
I don't really get to read a whole lot. I can tell you my favorite author is
Sure.
Jodi Picoult.
Oh, okay.
Love her books.
Favorite cartoon as a kid?
Fraggle Rock.
My cousin, I used to stay in my aunt's guest house, and it was the Traveling Matt house because they had little Traveling Matt that was on the bed.
I love it.
Yeah, he was on, and he had a little safari room. If you could have any animal as a pet, not a dog or a cat.
A llama.
Yes. That was super fast. Not an alpaca, a llama,
A llama.
because they're bigger.
Well, okay, so Emperor's New Groove, my little sister and I have a llama thing because she got me that for my high school graduation and it came out in 2001. And so it's like our sister thing.
I gotcha.
Yeah. April's obsessed with llamas, like more than I am, but yeah, I would have a llama. They spit.
You're sitting on a llama blanket.
I know, I'm so excited. Yeah, they spit at you. I like it.
Yeah, they do.
Sometimes I'd like to do that to people.
I can understand that. Do you have any historical heroes?
See, this is the rapid fire part that's like, how do I pick one? I don't know, just so
It's
many.
not really rapid fire. It's just like, we're going to go through it quickly.
So many.
Okay.
So many.
Give me 3.
Abraham Lincoln, because he like changed so much. Oh, 3. Oh, now I feel like, I have to come up with 3? Oh my gosh. Like a whole slew of people when it comes to like medicine. Like
Sure, yeah.
tons of them. Musically, Beethoven.
Oh.
Like, yeah.
Have you seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
When I was much younger.
Aw.
So great.
Yeah, so great. But Beethoven. Isn't Beethoven in that one? Is it
Yeah.
Mozart or Beethoven? Because they say his name wrong. I think it's
I
Beethoven.
think it is too, because that one sounds right.
Yeah.
I'm in a Facebook group where I'm following Bill and Ted 3, and I was just recognized yesterday as a top fan.
Oh, buddy.
I was
love
like,
it.
and they said, "Do you want this badge?" I was like, "Absolutely."
Of course I do. Why wouldn't
Add
I?
that to my profile. Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
Oh, you and Mandy.
Well, and neither actually. I don't
Oh.
drink soda pop. Very rarely will I drink
You
soda
can tell
pop.
you're a northerner because you called it soda pop.
I call it soda pop because I've lived in the Midwest and the West Coast, and so you get yelled at if you call it the wrong thing. So it's not pop, it's not soda, it's soda pop.
Soda pop. I like my soda pop.
Soda pop. That
Here-
way I can't get yelled at. Now it's here it's Coke and it means like Dr.
Everything.
Pepper.
It means everything.
Yeah, go get me a Coke. Why did you bring me a Coke?
Yeah.
I don't
You
know.
say, if you're in a restaurant, they'll say, "Can I have a Coke? Is Pepsi all right?" Yeah, that's fine. But it's just Coke.
Yeah.
It just means a brown liquid.
Yes, yeah.
Or sometimes
My
it
mom-
means Mountain Dew.
Right? Yeah. My mom growing up, my mom drank Pepsi. So, yeah. So Pepsi.
Okay.
Or RC Cola.
Oh, that's
Throwback.
real old school. If you could live in any decade, which one?
Okay, so either like the Renaissance period, because hello, like why not?
Yeah.
Fancy dresses and
Yeah.
knights and all that jazz, or like the mob era, like
You'd want to be a gangsta's mall.
like Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh,
like,
my.
When we studied the 20s and 30s in high school, my friend Adrienne and I dressed up as Bonnie and Clyde. Like, yeah, mob ties. Like,
Well,
yeah,
it's fixing to be the
that's my
20s
thing.
again. What is your best advice for other actors?
Try. Just try. And be patient. Like, it's okay if you don't get a lead role. It's fine. Guess what? Being in the ensemble is fun. Like Wizard of Oz, I was a bajillion different things. And it was so much fun. So just try.
And be okay with what you get.
Yeah. Be happy with what you get and don't feel like you are better than what you get.
Yeah.
Because you learn so much through every role you play.
Yeah.
And someone is always better than you.
What
Oh,
color
that's
is
true. Hold on. Yes, that is one of the best things I ever heard is somebody, I can't remember where I read it, but somebody said to Elizabeth Taylor, "You are the second most beautiful woman in the world." And
Yeah.
she said, "What do you mean I'm the second most?" And they said, "There's always somebody
There's
prettier."
always somebody. Always
Yeah.
somebody. And you might not ever meet them.
Exactly.
But the reality is someone's always better than you. Someone's always prettier than you. Someone
Younger.
is always kinder than you.
Yeah.
Someone
Yeah.
I mean, you aren't the end all.
Right.
If you could add anybody to Mount Rushmore, who would you add?
What?
I don't remember any of these. Are these?
I don't
Did
know.
we discuss this?
Yes.
Mount Rushmore. Oh, I don't know. Does it have to be a president?
No.
No.
Oh, then I would add like Lucille Ball. She's my
She'd be like,
favorite.
"Eh."
She's my favorite. She's like who I emulate.
There you go.
Like all my weird faces.
Then
like,
you
I'm
could have
her.
had a historical hero, Lucille Ball.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, she is historical. She did.
She's dead. Therefore, she is in history.
That's right.
What is one thing that you wish you'd never said to anyone?
I hate you to my mother.
Oh.
When I was like 10,
Oh.
I ran as fast as I could away, bawling my eyes out. And I'm pretty sure I locked myself in the bedroom and hid under my bed. And then I like came out and I was like, I'm sorry. I thought I was going to die. I thought she was going to kill me. Yeah.
That was real fast. That was a rapid fire.
Maybe we should rethink this.
Rapid fires with Ashley. 1 hour of bam, go. If you could tell that child version of yourself one thing, if you could go back and talk to little 10-year-old Ashley who's hiding under the bed, what would you tell her?
He's not good enough for you. Yeah. And exclamation point.
Yes.
And I say that not because I'm so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, he made me think I wasn't so good. You know, he, the anonymous he. And
Sounds like he needed killing.
he needed Jesus. I don't know.
Yeah, truly. Yeah.
But yeah,
And that's one thing about our title. It's in good fun.
yes.
It's something that is catchy, and it is something that's kind of, I guess, could be divisive because you're either going to get the point of it or you're not. It's farcical. It's a funny look at a very serious topic.
Yeah, and that's what I that's what I told my sisters and my mom. I said, you know, the show is bringing to light a very serious and heavy topic, but doing it in a comedic way. And
Yeah.
my mom was like, well, are they making fun of it?
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh my gosh, no. So far from it. Bringing to light the situation, but doing it in a way where we're not shaming people.
Right, and letting them feel like they're not alone.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
Yes.
there's so many people out there that are experiencing life as Luetta
Yes.
that don't realize they're not alone.
Yes. Yeah.
I've had some people who have read the script who have said, I didn't know other people
Yeah.
felt this way.
Yeah.
If you knew you could not fail, what would you do?
Sing.
But you do
Professionally.
sing. Oh, professionally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I never really would because I don't like the attention. So it's not even, I guess it's not even about failing. It's about if I knew that I could do it and no one would ever talk to me.
Well, that's like Barbara Streisand then.
No.
Yeah. She does not like attention. Well, she does like attention, but she gets very stage frightish.
Yeah, I get really awkward. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I'm not agreeing with you. I'm not agreeing that you get
Oh,
awkward.
no. Yeah.
As in this moment, we're both like awkwardly going through that.
It's a name.
Ashley.
I think you mean just enough.
That's right.
Yeah. I feel like I'm a little bit like Amelia. I did tell somebody that everything she wears in the play is stuff that I would wear to school on dress-up days.
You had her rainbow quilt.
I do have a rainbow quilt.
That's great. That is just great. Well, thank you for appearing on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Join us next time when we sit down with Joshua Reeve, who talks about his love of video games, why he got into acting, and fulfilling his father's legacy. Special thanks to Ashleigh McCandless for appearing today on Getting Real, and to the sponsors of He Needed Killin, Cedar Lake, Starview Greenhouses, and United Citizens Bank and Trust.
This episode of Getting Real was executive produced, edited, and written by me, Ashley Raymer-Brown.
It was produced, hosted, edited, and co-written by me, Bree Heightchew.
Music was provided by Final Cut Pro, and artwork was created by Ashley Raymer-Brown. That's me, and Bree Heightchew.
That's me.
Getting Real is a separate entity from the Theatre Downstream. The thoughts and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of the Theatre Downstream or the sponsors of their shows. Thanks for listening. No, it's not.
No.
Riley.
Where do you think you're going, dude?
Come on, just mush it. Just mush it. There you go.
He's like, I want the soft one.
Is that better? He's got to make it right.
Yep. I mean, I do that when I get in bed. I just
Yeah.
fluff my pillow and
You got to settle, man. We got to do this.
get my weighted blanket.
Oh, I've got one too.
What if we put a pillow on top of it? Or put his other blanket?
Or he could not be spoiled.
Well, yeah. But
That's asking
not
a
gonna
lot.
happen.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Now he's going to do that.
He's gonna lick.
Just kind of
Socializing.
finding air conditioner or like a fan. Yeah.
Failed you.
That's okay. You're allowed to sneeze.
That's going in the outtakes.
Great.
So we had her. Did you hear the outtake, the burp?
Yes.
She just walked in the.
Literally,
She walked in the room. Blah.
and I didn't know it was coming. I was just sitting there. I was about to say something.
He
And I was
walked
like-
in the room.
And burp just came out. And I was like, I didn't let it out. It didn't tell me it was coming.
I mean, it happens. It's life.
No, it's okay. You can answer the phone in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, it's really cool. We have a call-in guest, ladies
Yes.
and gentlemen.
Who is this?
Oh no, she didn't even know who it is.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I will save it. Okay, love you, bye.
How does she not know them, but she loves them?
I don't know.
Okay, love you, bye.
Who was that?
Cassidy's little brother.
Oh.
He said, just want to let you know I have a phone now.
Oh.
Aw, bless.
Anyway, I thought it was one of those, I thought it was like a scam call, so I was just going to answer and hang up, but I thought it was going to be quick. Whatever.
Nope.
Frank and Luetta, an unlikely pair. They were as different as can be. Frank was a two-faced, blowhard jerk. Luetta as lovely as a dream. And why she married him is lost on us all. And why she stuck around was hard to say. Luetta is too kind to ever say a word, and Frank wouldn't listen anyway. Here in the South, we have ourselves a saying, and it's true even if it sounds absurd. And you northern folk might think that we're simply playing, but when uttered we mean every single word. It's true, he needed killing, even if no one was willing. But things have a way of working out, and he needed killing, and killing's what this show is about. They say that a diamond is a lady's best friend, and in most cases that might just be true. But that can't be said of Luetta these days. She has the friends who know just what to do. 'cause ladies in the South, they keep to themselves and try to maintain their dignity. But when push comes to shove and the chips are all down, they might just commit a felony. Yes, they would. He needed killing, even if no one was willing. But things have a way of working out, and he needed killing, and killing's what this show is about. You know that things have a way of working out. He needed killing, and killing's what this show is about. Yes, he needed killing, and killing's what this show is about.